Speaker of the House John Bercow issued withering reprimands today to two Tory ministers for interrupting Diane Abbott in a discussion of ISIS jihadi bride Shamima Begum. The Shadow Home Secretary began an impassioned speech by saying, when she was 15, Shamima Begum made a very bad decision, and it is arguable that much of the tragedy that has engulfed her since then flows from it. She said she and the Labour Party believed the baby, who died in a refugee camp aged 18 days old, should have been allowed into the UK and that Begum should not have been stripped of her British citizenship. She asked Sajid Javid, can he explain why he deemed this 19-year-old, with a baby that was not quite 3 weeks old, more dangerous to Britain than the hundreds of foreign fighters who have already been allowed to return? Ms. Abbott was then interrupted by barraging from both benches after saying, we understand the issue of keeping British people safe, but this was a British baby, who is now dead. At this point her Labour colleague, Shadow International Trade Secretary Barry Gardiner exploded with fury, shouting "Shut up" across the chamber, pointing towards the Tory benches. Speaker Bercow addressed himself sternly to Tory Security Minister Ben Wallace and his Parliamentary Private Secretary, Simon Hoare, sitting on the government benches. Mr. Bercow said, Mr. Wallace, please. I respect your governmental responsibilities and the seriousness with which you take them, but I appeal to you just to listen to these exchanges. But turning to Mr. Hoare, he began, as for the Parliamentary Private Secretary, Mr. Hoare, you are a junior member of the House, trying to come to terms with your responsibilities as a PPS. Mr. Bercow then delivered some harsh truths to Mr. Hoare, who was first elected in 2015 and whose unpaid governmental role as PPS is the lowest rung on the ministerial ladder. Your job, said the Speaker, his cheeks flushed to match his cerise type, is just to sit there and nod or shake your head in the appropriate place. It is not for you to give a running commentary on the Shadow Home Secretary's performance. I have not the slightest interest in what you have to say, and you will say no more in the course of these exchanges or I shall have to ask you to relocate yourself. Diane Abbott was then allowed to continue, saying, this is a very serious matter, and it's unfortunate that the Treasury bench don't seem to take it with the seriousness it deserves. Sajid Javid said the only person responsible for the death of Shamima Begum's 3-week-old baby was the foreign terrorist fighter. The case of the 19-year-old, born in Bethnal Green but who traveled to Syria to be with ISIS as a jihadi bride, was raised in the Commons during an urgent question. Mr. Javid strongly rejected Shadow Home Secretary Diane Abbott's suggestions he was responsible for the baby's death, having stripped Begum of her British citizenship instead of allowing her to come home.